Welcome to the first episode of Stamped Wright NBA Draft. My name is Killian Wright, joined by Michael Stamps, and this is the first episode of our show where we will be going down, kind of talking prospect evaluation, NBA draft, potential outcomes, what we think about it, just kind of the whole rundown of all things NBA draft related. So, Michael, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Michael Stamps, gonna be a junior at the University of Missouri. Talk about a out of nowhere idea. Like literally sent Killian a text message 3 days ago. What if we started a podcast and here we are? So that's how all good ideas start, I guess. But yeah, I work for Missouri Tigers on SI, cover football and basketball for them. Work for OKC Thunder on SI as just a reporting intern. Which is pretty cool stuff given they're in the NBA Finals. Didn't think that was going to happen when I started there at the beginning of the school year, so that's pretty cool. And I just started work for Jay's 24/7, Creighton's 24/7 sports affiliate site here over the summer. So pretty busy. We'll make sure we throw our social media and stuff and somewhere on this so you can find a place to follow us. But I'll throw it back to you, Killian.
Yeah, and while Michael gets to write about the Thunder who are in the championship, I am writing about the Houston Rockets on SI, which is just amazing. Anyone who knows me knows I've just absolutely loved the Rockets my entire life and definitely not hated them or anything.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, pretty cool opportunity. Rockets on SI. I do NBA draft on SI, which is like formerly Draft Digest. And then I also work at Mizzou SI with Michael. So a little bit of crossover there. And then obviously some opposition with Rockets and Thunder. But yeah, like Michael said, all great ideas start with let's start a podcast. I think 99 times out of 100 those definitely work out perfectly well. So I think ours will be special.
1,000%.
Yeah. So just kind of a quick breakdown on how each of us view the draft, I guess, so people can get like a baseline on what we think, and it's not just like throwing shit at the wall and hoping it sticks. We've got I guess I'll start off. My thought process is it's better to go hunting for good players than great players because there's a lot more good players in drafts than there are great. And so you kind of have to put a limit on like how many stars there's going to be. I was doing some research on it last night and I have it pulled up, but the last from 2015, so 10 years ago, to 2021, which is a pretty fair age range considering what I'm about to talk about, is there's about 4.8 All-Stars per draft, so just under 5. So, and there might be one more come from the 2021 class, like a late bloomer, but I did the cutoff there because it's not fair to grade after 21 and say these guys haven't made All-Star teams because they're still 21 years old. But so you're looking at about 5 All-Stars per draft. Only about a third of those are top 5 picks. And then 1/3 of those 5 All-Stars have only made one All-Star game. So they're not like perennial stars you can build around necessarily, like guys like Lauri Markkanen, for example, Jared Allen fall into those categories. So not exactly like building blocks, but, borderline All-Stars. And you're only getting about 2.5 All-NBA members per class and less than 1 first-team All-NBA member per class. So in each draft class, you can kind of look for 1 superstar, 2 to 3 perennial All-Stars, and then like a total of 5 borderline guys. And so basically my philosophy of the draft is go hunting for good, not great, unless you have a top 3 pick or are just very desperate for a star. Michael, what do you kind of look for?
I completely agree. I feel like the NBA is at a stage right now where so many teams have like their guy that we don't necessarily need to be hunting for stars. And you look at how some of these guys recently have come along, like Nikola Jokic was not supposed to be as good as he was. And obviously that's such a anomaly, right? But it shows you don't need to, go get the craziest, highest potential player. And you just think about some of the high potential players over recent draft classes, and I'm kind of blanking on names right now, but like let's just throw Zachary Risachet as an example. And obviously he still has so much time. He's only a rookie, right? But that was he was kind of viewed as a potential long-term upside guy, but like is
I think
it?
he was getting Harrison Barnes comps in his
Yeah,
pre-draft process for
yeah,
the number one overall pick. So
something like, I mean, so I guess take that for what it's worth, but there's kind of like a mold for like a role player when you're taking him in the draft, and a mold for like a potential star. And I think obviously when you're drafting in the lottery, and especially in the top 5, top 10, there's so much risk and reward when it comes to taking those players, especially like the younger guys and the your French 6'11", 180-pound wings that
those
can
French
shoot that can shoot.
yeah.
So I don't know. It's interesting. I agree. I kind of, when I first started quote unquote scouting and watching guys and ranking them, I always valued like age and experience. It's like, oh, why would you want to draft an old player? And this was probably 5 years ago or so, but it's pretty clear now that teams, one, you can develop at any stage in your career, and two, like teams are valuing that less and less, and more experienced players in the NCAA are certainly still valuable. So I agree with you. I don't think it's necessary to go out and hunt for stars all the time. I think that's pretty evident in the 2024 draft class, and I think again off the top of my head that teams did a pretty good job of kind of throwing that out the window a little bit and looking for guys who are going to be long-term, not necessarily stars, but long-term fits and players that can contribute. So I agree with you, Killian. I think it's better to go get a good player instead of a high upside guy, and you can make them great, or they can become great at another part of their career, or they just don't work out. So I completely agree with you.
Yeah, and especially if you want to kind of throw this model back to the Thunder, who are right now heavy championship favorites and looking like they're probably going to win the championship. A lot of their draft picks that hit were the ones when they were going for, all right, surefire, good role player, a little bit of star upside, but this guy will be a positive impact player. You go down the board, you look at Cason Wallace, who was just very clearly he can dribble, shoot, defend, switch. I mean, that's what you need. You got to look at Chet Holmgren, who a lot of people didn't think had the star potential of Jabari Smith at the time, which, take that what you will. But definitely had the highest floor out of Paolo, Jabari, and Chet, who were all in the mix to go number one that year. Picks like that have hit for them in recent years. And then obviously J-Dub, who blossomed into the star, but had the very high floor of a role player. And their picks that missed, Josh Giddey, Darius Baisley, were very, very incomplete players with many flaws and kind of needed the ball to succeed. And so even in the best team in the league, their model right now was their success came from target the good, not the great. So I think a lot of other teams, obviously when one team wins the championship, every other team in the league copycats and blueprints that. I think in this year's draft, it'll be even more apparent that that's kind of where the league is shifting.
Yeah.
I
think, sorry, not to interrupt. I think another important thing is where these players go and, who takes them and who's developing them. Like, obviously, OKC had this perfect blueprint, but, it's not the fact that it's not like just the player, right? They had incredible coaching staffs, great developmental programs, the G League team, all those assistant coaches, strength and conditioning, especially for Chet. So I think that's important too. Like, I was just looking at the 2022 NBA draft, and we were texting about this a couple of days ago, Killian. Like, Johnny Davis was not like Johnny Davis did not look like he did not look like he was going to be as bad as he was. And obviously you can label him as a bust. I don't remember where he went in the draft. What was it, like
11 or 12 to Washington?
Yeah.
Right?
So that's like,
or 10 maybe, something like that.
Yeah, it was around that range, right? And he didn't look like he was going to be that bad. He was a really good college player, but what's Washington's development program like, or what was it like at that time? And he got bumped. He moved around teams. I don't know if he's on a roster or where he is right now, but he's just like, he didn't do himself any favors, but never really had a surefire chance. So this is off topic, but it'll be interesting to see what Washington could do with all their young guys and, looking here in the future. And I don't know, again, what their assistant coaching moves are what their staff looks like at all. I can't say I watch a lot of Wizards basketball, but just an example of a guy who like he hurt himself, right? He didn't necessarily do himself any favors, but was he in a great situation to begin with? Probably not. So that's also something you have to keep in mind. Like, you could draft the right guys, and you could draft players who can turn in, like a Jalen Williams. You can draft a guy who has a high floor, but develop him into an all-star. But you still have to get him there. Obviously, he has to put in the work, but the coaching staff also has to do their thing to make sure he's getting what he needs to make that next step.
Yeah, and the Johnny Davis archetype is a really dangerous one, and what I'm about to say kind of explains a lot of my draft board, but kind of, at least in my eyes, and maybe this is a bit of 2020 vision, but I think the Johnny Davis thing is his only path to success in the NBA was being a star. And I don't think that's a very healthy recipe for a draft selection. Like, I feel like it's better off to target a guy who is 60 to 70% chance of becoming a good role player and that extra 10% chance of becoming a star than getting a guy who's probably not going to succeed as a role player because he maybe can't defend very well, can't defend multiple positions, can't shoot, can't really play off ball. I think it's better off to target those surefire role player guys with those archetypes, which is, again, like I said, why I have some of these guys with superstar potential relatively low on my board, because I don't really see the path in them succeeding as a role player in the NBA. So it's very, very boom or bust.
Yeah, I agree. And we're going to get into our boards here in a second, but I generally know that we have a lot of similar thoughts outside of a few guys, and a lot of the guys that we're talking about, maybe a lower ceiling, higher floor, that are just going to come in and contribute right away. There's clearly a role for them now. And for teams who don't need a superstar, like most of these guys that we're just kind of throwing around, like, they're going to be good fits anywhere. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to throw a guy who could shoot the three efficiently and space the floor and play, intense defense. It's not a rocket science to mix him into the system. Like, you just put him in and he's going to do his thing every time. So we'll get into that here in a second, but I think that's kind of why we agree on some of those things.
Agreed. Yeah. So we can go ahead and get into the big boards then, and then we'll throw them up on screen so everyone can see what we're talking about. But all right, starting off number one for both of us, consensus Cooper Flag.
Yeah, not much to say there.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to explain ourselves much. I actually have a question though, kind of off topic, but similar. What are your thoughts on throwing around like the generational label in general, like a generational prospect? Like, I don't know how to feel about calling Cooper Flag generational, because he's definitely a unique player. Like, Victor Wembanyama was generational.
Yeah.
But it seems weird for the amount of hype that Cooper Flag gets, because he's going to be a great NBA player. Like, his floor, like, if you want to talk about a high floor, like, it is high. But I have a hard time calling him generational, and I don't know why that is, but I just want to know your thoughts on the label in general, and coining that term with Mr. Flag.
I think it's hard because I think a lot of people have like different definitions of generational. Like, is generational the difference between me and me as a 19-year-old and like a middle schooler who's like 13 or 14? Is that the difference of generational, or is generational like me versus my 34-year-old uncle, like where it's like a 15-year age gap? And so I think that's a big part of it. I think in sports standards, generational can be tagged as like maybe like a 5 to 6 year segment, because it's like a new set of like fans' eyes are watching like a new era. Like, my era, like, of watching, like, our era. Is,
bro, come on.
It's like,
that's disrespectful.
We witnessed like the primes of like Harden, AD, KD, Russ, Steph, and then people who are maybe like my younger sister, who's like, well, she's like, okay, never mind, she's like 16. She maybe like 14, 15-year-olds would have grown up more seeing the primes of Jokic and Embiid is who they think of as the first primes they saw, and that was their first era of basketball. So I guess if you were to consider generational in like a 5-ish year term, then you could maybe consider Flag, because there hasn't been another Flag in the last 5 to 6 years of drafting. Although like he draws like a decent amount of Tatum comps, offensively wise, which I see. So even then, that's pushing it. But personally, I don't think Flag is generational. I think if you run down like the last 10 drafts, I think the only generational guys are Wemby and Zion. As prospects, that's not to say Zion is right now a generational player, but as a prospect, I mean, Zion was getting like hype as, hey, he's the best prospect since Braun. Obviously, other guys have got that label, like, but some undeservedly, like Andrew Wiggins had that label as like baby Jordan. Stop, like that. That was never like a real. I mean, that shouldn't have been happening.
You're right.
But like Zion and Wemby, I think, are the only two generational prospects of the last 9-10 years. Everyone, that's not to say Flag isn't good. Obviously, Flag is elite and kind of far and away the best player in the class. But to be generational, I think you have to be like so extraordinary, special, and you have to be like different. We've seen Flags before, or at least players in similar vein. Like there was no player comparison for Wemby. There was some player comparisons for Zion, but not very accurate ones, and not ones that I think were to the level of even skill that he is now. Like I think the most accurate comp for Zion was like Larry Johnson-ish, but Zion has already like way surpassed Larry Johnson.
Yeah.
So I think to be generational, you have to be like an insanely elite talent, and you have to be very unique.
I would agree, and I think it's not to say that Cooper Flag's not going to be a great player, but there is no Wemby, and I would agree that there is no Zion. So let's move on from that. Sorry for the distraction. Into number 2 overall, which is our first disagreement. So we're off to a great start. It's not controversial though. I have Rutgers point guard / shooting guard, whatever you want to call him, Dylan Harper. You have VJ Edgecombe from Baylor. Let's not get into it too much, but I have those positions. I have those guys flip-flopped, and you do as well. You have Harper at 3. I have Edgecombe at 3. Do you want to give your rationale for that at all?
Yeah, sure. Harper, higher ceiling. I think Harper could be the engine of an offense one day. But I also think he's a little bit more flawed. Not as complete defensively as Edgecombe. Definitely not an off-ball player, which is always, like I said, like a little risky. It's like you take a guy this high and he can't play off-ball. You better hope he pans out in terms of running an offense. And I do think he could do that, and I think he will do that. It's just there is that small percentage of like he has this one pathway to being a good player, and it's being the captain of an offense. I think Edgecombe could kind of produce levels of being like a 1B, maybe not a 1A, but I think he's a lock for being a productive player, and also has like the 3rd highest superstar upside in the class. So I think that combination does it for me to give him the slight edge over Harper.
I personally don't think, like, I think superstar is a stretch for Edgecombe, but I think it's another high floor guy, and like his athleticism alone and defensive ability is going to carry him a long way, even if the offensive side never pans out. Like he could always be a functional, super athlete defensive guy. So I think that's a kind of a good basement for him. Going on to number 4, we both have Duke wing Con Knipple. I love Con Knipple. I think he is so much fun. And he's really not that exciting of a player at all when it comes to flashiness or anything, but he does everything. Incredible shooter, probably the best shooter, one of the best shooters in the class, if not the best. Yeah. Anything else to add? I mean, I love his ability to make plays. Like he kind of not ran the point, but was a functional ball handler and distributor for Duke. He can defend, and he has size too. I like, outside of not being the biggest athlete, I kind of have a hard time struggling seeing what he's not going to do well in the NBA.
Yeah, and even his defense certainly held up at the collegiate level. I think he was at like a 3 DPPM, so I think he's fine on that end, despite being kind of a scrawny white guy. I think he's okay. Not to say he's some lockdown guy or anything, but I don't think he'll get picked on too bad in the NBA, which is something you obviously have to worry about. But I wrote a little piece on this the other day, but I think Knipple is like the perfect Robin before you get your Batman. If you're a team that kind of doesn't have a great foundation, go ahead and take Knipple, and he can be like the Magic selecting Franz before getting their Paolo the next year. I think Knipple is the perfect guy to be like the complementary star, the secondary initiator. Like he can really just do it all. So yeah, I think Knipple's pretty high up there.
Yeah, I agree. And we're going to talk about Kamal Malawach like right after this, but how impressive are these this big Duke three this year for how impactful they were as freshmen, and what Duke made it to the Final Four, right? And I thought they had as good, well, they did have as good a chance as any to go all the way. It was a brutal ending, but I admire freshmen who don't play like freshmen. And this is like a separate argument and probably a topic of conversation for a different time, but I'll have these debates with my dad all the time. Like, oh, these teams with true freshmen just won't go anywhere in March Madness. But I think that maturity and intelligence that Malawach and Flag and Knipple all played with during March Madness and in the season in general was so impressive, and probably should not be discounted when we're talking about where these guys are going to end up. Quick rundown: we have Kamal Malawach, both as our 5th overall guy. By far and away best center in the class. Probably one of my favorite centers I've watched over the last couple of years, if not my favorite. Yeah,
he has a ridiculous modern era defense potential in terms of the ground he covers. Man, it's ridiculous. I remember there was multiple plays in the same game. I was watching one of the games with my friends. It was late in the season. I think it was in the tournament, but Malawach went up to go double on a screen, and he at the same time has his arms out stretched like this, and it's obviously like a ridiculously I think 7'6" wingspan or something like that. And his foot speed is just insane, and he's covering both guys, both the ball handler and the roller at the same time, and swats the pass out of the roller's hands as he catches it, and then runs down the court and catches a lob the very next play over a defender. Yeah. Just absurd athleticism at the center position that you cannot pass up on. I mean, this is there's not many guys. I think it's Wemby, Chet, Mobley, and then in terms of ground they can cover, Malawach day one might be a top 6 guy. It's going to be scary, man. He could really be a perennial all defense guy.
Yeah. I mean, and really if, the Spurs weren't picking a number 2 overall, it makes you wonder if I don't know who would need him, because Philly's obviously not taking a big man, and Charlotte probably won't either. So the teams towards the top of the draft kind of impact his draft position. I think if you think about, drafting, positionally instead of best player available, but most of these teams towards the top of the draft kind of all have their big men of the future. Maybe not Walker Kessler.
Maybe not Charlotte either, because they were talking Mark Williams.
They were.
I'm guessing he's gone. So.
That's interesting too. There's definitely some parallels, I think, between Mark Williams and Kamal Malawach. That would be an interesting replacement there. But I guess Charlotte could be a team, and Utah could too if they don't think Walker Kessler is their guy, which that's probably, I don't know. I mean, that could be a fair assumption to make.
Why do they hate Walker Kessler? What's wrong with that? Walker Kessler has a top 3 block rate in the league.
I'm not saying they hate him. I'm just saying if they don't.
No, they do. I feel he's always in trade talks, and they are trying to always fielding offers for him. This guy's 22 years old and the top.
Yeah, he could shoot. He just dropped there was a really tough postseason workout video of Walker Kessler looking like that, looking like postseason or off-season workout Mitchell Robinson. So, that's something. Speaking of Mitchell Robinson, another guy that I think draws some parallels to Malawach. He has so many different players in his game. I don't know why they hate Walker Kessler though. He's he is young. I forget he's that young, but
he's 22 or 23, right?
Something like that. He's a serviceable, beyond serviceable big man, but maybe they don't think that and they want to move on. I don't know. But that's going to be interesting to see where Mr. Malawach ends up. I mean, hell, San Antonio could just take him. And
Matt has been saying for like months that the Spurs are like in the market for another center.
I mean,
so I think it, from what I've seen, they're pretty locked into Harper at 2. But if for whatever reason, like some sort of trade down, or like, I mean, they have another lottery pick, like they could trade up into the lottery again, like from I think 14, like up to like 9 maybe, and get him. They could take him. I mean,
that would be no
one's scoring at the rim. I mean,
that would be disgusting.
Yeah.
And I mean, worth mentioning that Malawach has plenty of offensive upside as well that is, I think, pretty untapped still. But obviously he's already a great rim runner. The jump shot isn't.
He's trying.
Horrific. Yeah. It's not ugly. I think that's something that you might not see incorporated right away, but it's definitely something that you could keep an eye on. But that would make him a whole different. That would raise his ceiling a ton, make him a completely different player.
That would turn him from like lively talks to like Mobley talks. So.
Yeah, I agree. Let's keep this going, and we'll maybe speed through a little bit. You have Noah. How do you say? I've never had to say his name out loud. Esengwe. Okay, whatever. Yeah, you have Noah. There's 2 French Noahs in this draft class too. How confusing is that?
Noah Penda is the other one. He's mixed opinions. That guy's a bowling ball.
His name is easier to say too, so maybe I automatically like other Noah more. But you have good Noah at number 6. Yeah. I have Trey Johnson at number 6. I have Ace Bailey at number 7. You have Trey Johnson at number 7. I have good Noah at 8. You have Derek Queen. I have Igor Demon.
I think it's Demon. I don't know actually.
God damn, why is it confusing? I have Igor. Shout out to Tyler the Creator at number 9. You have Neat Clifford from Colorado State. I have Kasparis Jakishonis at 10. You have Cedric Coward at number 10. Let's run through the rest of our top.
So our 6 through 10 is very different.
Extremely different. I'm just gonna say with Ace Bailey, like I leave him so high just because I know the shot selection is so horrendously bad, but it's kind of a what if thing. And this goes against my draft philosophy a little bit, and I'm not like dying on the Ace Bailey hill by any means at all. Like, I'm not trying to say that. I'm not going to defend him for my life, and it's not impossible that I bump him down even more before the draft starts. But I just think there is too much shot making upside there for him not to be where I have him. And I like the size as well. So that's my thoughts with Ace Bailey. That's if there's anyone in my first round grades that's subject to change, it's definitely him. He obviously has flaws, plenty of flaws. Yeah. Outside of that, I could probably bump up Noah a little bit. He's having an insane run right now of great PR and boosting his draft stock. Wouldn't be surprised if he ends up in the top 5 in this year's draft at all. He's been just really good at everything in general. Offense, he's a good rebounder. Obviously, he's a great defender. He has a length. He is like every prototypical French wing over the last 5 seasons, but better.
He's better.
He's better.
I hope people realize this isn't like another like Tidjane Salon situation where he's just like fake good. Like Noah Esengay is good.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, he gets to the rim like better than probably 90% of the prospects in this class, dude. Yeah. Like Noah Esengay is getting 10, 12, 8 free throws against top competition in Euro Cup.
Yeah.
And he's improved his free throw percentage by like at least 10 every season so far he's played over there. The shooting touch looks to be pretty promising in terms of that developing. And if that develops, everything else is already there. If the shooting touch develops, like
Yeah, I also think there's a certain fluidity to his game. Like you could when you see like Tajane Salon or like what was the other one last year? Pacome Dadier, the guy in
Yeah,
the Knicks, or Usman Jang is another guy we could
yeah,
include in this argument. Um, that I think they lack a certain level of like just general basketball fluidity. Like even when they bring the ball up the court or they attack the rim, it just seems kind of choppy, and they can rely on their length to kind of save them and keep the ball in a good position, not to turn the ball over. But I think Noah's IQ and feel for the game is good, but he also just seems very fluid to me. So he's having a hell of a run right now. I think he's gonna gonna keep getting better. Some team is gonna be very fortunate getting him. Just a couple other things here. I'm trying to think. I have Igor and Kasparis in
that
my top
that's a
10.
big discrepancy for us because I have KJ and
Yeah,
Igor pretty low. So I think we should talk about that.
yeah. I am willing to. Where do you have Igor?
I have Igor way down there, man. I have Igor in the second round. I'm not falling for this. I'm not falling for this again, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's I really like Igor as a playmaker. Again, I think the fluidity in his game is really really solid. I think with the shooting, if that translates, he's going to be a very fun player. So that's my thing. I think defensively, there's plenty of room to improve on, but I don't know. I'm interested to see what you have to say. I would if Kasparis is another guy who I could probably bump down. I think his floor is pretty high, so that's why I'm kind of fine having him where I am. But I'll let you go ahead and give your thoughts because I'm curious.
I think the case of Demon and Kasparis for me is I'm looking around the league at all the starting point guards, and how many starting point guards in the league can you say are surefire positive impact players that don't score the ball well? Because that's kind of Igor and Kasparis at the next level. Obviously Igor with his shooting flaws and honestly kind of like giddy, like wacky touch around the rim. And then Kasparis with just like the zero downhill ability. He would have to be pretty reliant on pull-up jump shooting for Kasparis. Yeah. So just looking around the league at point guards, if you want to be a starting point guard, you have to be able to score realistically probably about 16 a night efficiently, at least minimum. And I don't think either of these guys are doing that.
Yeah, and I wouldn't like. I'd be curious to see if Igor can kind of change the role he plays in the NBA to kind of an off guard or a secondary ball handler / distributor. I wonder if that would impact his game because obviously he played a decent amount of point guard for BYU, but you could kind of tell he doesn't always look comfortable despite. I mean, I feel like he's a good playmaker. That's not a
they're good playmakers.
Not a bad assumption to make. And he's a good handler as well. But I agree. I don't know. I think Igor could definitely benefit from maybe playing like an off guard role. I think Kasparis's playmaking is enough to be hopeful about. But I agree that there's some offensive flaws there. I also think Igor has hope with his jump shot. So,
do you think? Okay, you know how the Rockets will use Amen sometimes in the sense of he'll get the ball off cuts, but then immediately look for someone else, or he'll get the ball in the high post, like off of setting a screen, like he'll be the short roller and then look for the next play, and sometimes it results in like an awkward floater. Is that obviously Igor has like nowhere near the athleticism as Amen?
No,
so
I see what you're saying.
Harder, but does he have like the short roll and cutting and dishing potential to kind of play that? Because that to me, like off the top of my head, would probably be the only other avenue he has that's not like the main ball handler on offense. Do you think he could do that?
I feel like part of what makes him so good at that is like his speed and athleticism, and like his feel for the game is so fast. I don't know if Igor has that in him. I don't know. One of the comps that I've been kind of intrigued by for Igor is like a Sean Livingston type guy, and obviously the shooting would the scoring and the jump shooting would have to improve a ton, but the size profile is there, and a similar role to what Sean Livingston did is kind of maybe like the peak of what he could do. So I don't know. I don't think he has that. I don't think he has in him what Thompson does, but I guess it's not impossible. I think that's such a one-on-one, like, unique role that he plays because he's so fast and athletic, and his feel for like his game speed is just like at 150%, and Igor is not. So, I guess looking at what you have down, but where we differ, you have where did we both have Trey Johnson? I had Johnson at 6, you have Johnson at 7, so that's nothing crazy. You have Derek Queen at 8. I have Derek Queen at 17. I'll let you.
Okay. So in the past, I've been very out on guys like Derek Queen.
Mm-hmm.
I was not like, if you're a center and you struggle to defend the rim, I was very out on you. I mean, centers have to be able to guard the rim, but I will say double big seems like it's kind of like fully back, which means Queen could play with another rim protector. It's going to be a very unique archetype that can play next to Queen because you're going to have to be able to shoot threes and protect the rim. But that's doable. Like I had the Wizards taking Queen at one point, and Alex Sarr, if he gets his 3-point shot down, could be like a dream fit next to Queen because he could protect the rim, catch lobs sometimes. Obviously, Derek Queen's a really good passer for a big man. And then obviously space the floor for him. So I think Derek Queen, if double big is like truly here to stay, and it's not just like a little 1-2 season fluke thing, and it turns into like a 5-6 year era thing, I think Derek Queen could certainly be a guy that teams can be intrigued by in terms of being like the skilled big to pair with kind of a more traditional big.
I mean, my concerns with Queen is just on defense. Like, I just don't know. I mean, I think that's everyone's concern with Queen. I just like it's like a speed and footwork thing, and like defending the pick and roll is obviously so important for big men, and I don't know how well he does that. So a lot of that stuff. I was going to ask though, and you answered my question, like how important is the passing going to be to play kind of that high post distributor or low post distributor. So that's a good point there, and I don't disagree with that. But I guess I really haven't thought of the Alex Sarr fit. So that definitely would be interesting because Sarr can obviously protect the rim and guard a whole bunch. Queen can't do either of those things though.
Which is why I'd like to clarify. I have Trey Johnson and Derek Queen kind of in their own tier, where it's like these guys have superstar or not, at least like perennial all-star potential, I think. But they also have like obvious flaws that need to be pointed out that separates them from the tier of Edgecombe, Harper, Kahn. They're like the next tier of guys with star potential, but there's flaws there that can be easily picked on. It's just a matter on getting in the right system. So yeah.
I mean, with Trey Johnson too, like everyone knows what the upside is, but like the college efficiency and NBA efficiency are two completely different things. So like he was an efficient high volume scorer at Texas, but like if the volume decreases and he's not efficient, like he's useless. So
pretty much, yeah. There's easy outs on the guys.
Yeah, so I mean, again, it's kind of hard to like with Trey Johnson. Like obviously he's such a good pure scorer. Like that's why he's ranked so highly. It's so exciting, but if that doesn't translate, like I don't know what he like literally can't do anything. Meet Clifford and Cedric Coward are the two that round out your top 10. I have Coward at 12 and Neek. I don't know.
You've Neek down at like 27.
I have Neek at 27, and that could and honestly, like I'll just be real, like that could probably be bumped up a little bit. I don't know if I'll have him. I won't have him as high as you do, but I think a lot of people look at Neek for with Jalen Williams upside. I don't know if I see that, but I don't know. I like the physicality. I think there's a few scoring concerns with him, but I don't. I think 9, or where do you have him? 9 or 10? I think that's a little too
I have
high.
him
But
9.
yeah,
I think
that's
I
too high. But
I can see the argument for it being too high because he doesn't have like this crazy ceiling or anything like that. But I mean, I kind of feel like he could be the perfect role player. I mean, he can shoot, he can pass, he can dribble, he can switch on defense, and he doesn't make very many stupid plays.
Yeah,
that sounds like a role player that about every team in the playoffs could use right now. I mean, like, everyone on the Thunder and the Pacers can shoot, dribble, and finish at the rim and switch on defense. Like that's the new era. And so Neek checks all those boxes. I kind of think it's like, yeah, he might not ever make an All-Star game. He probably won't ever make an All-Star game, but he's probably going to have a long career.
Yeah, I agree. And honestly, we just said all the same things about Knipple. So like, that's reason enough. Devil's advocate is, the level of competition.
Yes.
But if we're talking about Jalen Williams, he did it at Santa Clara. So I don't know. And then Cedric Coward, I like Cedric Coward a lot. I'm happy he stayed in the draft. I think it's kind of a similar argument with him. With him and Neek. Would you agree? Just experienced wing, can shoot, attack the rim, defend. The wingspan is crazy. Almost a 7'2" wingspan is what I have down. That is nuts. But anything else you have to add about Cedric?
I think Cedric's got a little more on-ball juice than Neek maybe does, but he also just hasn't done it for as long that Neek has. Cedric only played I think 6 games this year. So obviously you don't fully know what you're getting into. And every once in a while, one of those combine guys will just be absolute fake risers and they just do nothing. So, but I don't think that'll be the case for Cedric. I literally have him one spot lower than Neek, but he's obviously got the Jalen Williams tag everywhere in every article. So, kind of hard not to have a guy like that high up on your board.
Let's keep it moving here through the top 30. I'll just go down and read the next couple picks off for both of us. You have Ryan Kalkbrenner,
your boy,
11. Yeah, I don't have him that high, but I appreciate that. I have Jeremiah Fears at 11. You have Jace Richardson at number 12. I have Cedric Coward at number 12. I have Adu Thiero at 13. You have Rasheer Fleming at 13. I have Walter Clayton at 14. You have Carter Bryant. I have Rasheer Fleming at 15, and then you have Drake Powell. I don't really have much defending to do. I'm pretty comfortable. I know you definitely slid Fears down a decent amount, and I understand why. Where do you even have him? Holy cow!
I've got Fears down in the same tier as Thiero, which you have him right next to Thiero too. I've got Fears down at 27 because it's the same thing. It's what is Fears' role if he's not the star of the team? He's got to be good enough to be a maxi level guy, because otherwise it's he's gonna have the ball in his hands so much that he has to be good, because you don't want him taking the ball away from. He's such a ball dominant guy. You don't need him taking the ball away from your wing or your star big if he's just not gonna be very efficient with it. And so, but he does have my label on his tier is star potential, but have a very small path to being a productive role player.
Yeah.
So it's I do think he has that star potential. And there is a world where Fears turns out as an all-star, certainly. Yeah. But that's the only route to success for him. Otherwise you're looking at a Cole Anthony role where for 2/3 of Cole Anthony's career, he's been a clear negative impact. And then once a season for a month, he'll just turn into the best player on the team, which could certainly just be Fears for the next 10 years, which would be kind of a fun guy. But
I think you could even out where I have Fears and you have Fears, and that would be a perfect spot for him. So I don't really have any complaints about where you have him, and I could probably bump him a spot lower. I
He
really
has
do
aura,
like
though, dude. I can't
he
lie.
a little bit of aura.
Spears is a sick name. He has aura.
Yeah, it is. That's tough.
Yeah.
I like Adu Thiero a lot. I know there's again offensive limitations, but he's big. The wingspan is there. I like him getting downhill a lot. I think the jumper needs a lot of work, but I think he's a good defender as well. So he seems like a guy who can make a pretty quick impact for a team in a minimized role. Not a guy or drafting to be a star. So I like Thiero a lot. I'm happy he stayed in the draft. Other than the guys I just named, I really want to have Rasheer Fleming higher. I think he's going to be a great role player. Who do you have as your comp for Rasheer Fleming? You don't mind me
I have Aaron Gordon ?
Yeah, I don't have one at all, so I don't hate that at all. I think he's just another do it all impact wing. So that's a fun guy right there. Let's keep going. Let's keep going down the board just to get through these guys. By the way, I think Carter Bryant at 14 and Drake Powell at 15 is too high. Carter Bryant's a guy I'm not really all that high on at all.
He might go to your Bulls.
He better not. He better not.
He might.
I have Carter Bryant at 32.
Whoa.
And
really?
I have Drake Powell at 38. So
I think okay. Obviously, I'm a lot higher on Drake Powell than consensus, but I think you're super low on Carter Bryant than consensus. I don't think I've seen Carter Bryant outside of like the top 20 very much.
I don't think he does. I just don't know what he does on offense.
He kind of looks like how like Trey Murphy used to look before he turned into a star.
I don't think he has that shooting potential at all. And like Murphy can handle the ball, and I don't think.
Well, he couldn't at first though. Like Murphy,
there was glimpses of that though. I don't really think Bryant. I don't think Bryant does that.
I mean, he shot 37 from 3.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
37's fine. No, 37% is good, but I don't see him reaching a Trey. Maybe Trey Murphy's like the absolute highest ceiling, but I don't think I would be surprised if he gets to that point. I don't know. I don't again like if we're talking about like fluidity too, like Murphy plays like a guard at times. He can put the ball on the floor. I don't know if I can see Bryant doing those things. And with Drake Powell, another guy that maybe I could bump up a little bit. He's like, it's kind of weird that I have him this low, honestly, because he's probably one of the best, if not the best, wing defender in the class. But again, offensively, and like I guess that alone should probably have him a little bit higher, but he's a negative on offense.
He shot 38 from 3, I think. Like he can be like a fine like catch and shoot guy, and
that
then
was
like
on pretty low
years.
That was on pretty low volume though, right?
It was, but I think if I remember right, like towards the end of the year, he started to turn it up a little bit.
I also like maybe have like slight mechanical questions about his jump shot. I feel like it's pretty ugly. I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But
oh man.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could kind of see the vision with Bryant. I definitely see it with Powell, but I think like versatility is kind of a big thing for me, and I don't like what I see from Carter Bryant on offense. I don't want him to be a Chicago Bull. We have the last Arizona wing we took, which is Dalen Terry. I'll just leave that at that. I have one of my fish at my house in Missouri is named after Dalen Terry, so maybe Carter Bryant.
You named it Dalen Terry?
Yeah, they're all named after the Chicago Bulls.
Who's the rest?
Our snail's named after Nikola Vucevic.
Okay,
then Javon Carter, Buzelis, Kobe White, Josh Giddey has a snail, and then we got 3 new ones right after the trade deadline. So that was Zach, Trey, and Kevin. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so Kevin, dude.
Yeah, dude. Don't say that ever again. Let's keep this going. I feel like the controversy kind of gets lower as we go deeper into our boards. I have Sorber at 16. I just lost it. I have Sorber at 16. You have Penda at 16. You have Sorber at 17. Murray Boyles at 18, Asa Newell at 19, Ace Bailey at 20, Kasparis at 21, McNeely at 22. I'm going to stop there because your last three are pretty fun. I have Thomas Sorber at 16, Derek Queen at 17, which, I guess is I personally don't think that's like super controversially like low. I also don't think 8 is like super high. I feel like where we have him is probably a pretty decent draft range for him. It seems there are things about Queen that could make him slide into the later parts of the first round. So I don't really hate the range we have for him there.
He's not going to fit on every team either. So that's also a part of it. Like there's only a select amount of teams that can reasonably take Queen. So if they have a better option they think is available, then that shoots him down instead of one spot. That'll shoot him down like 5 spots.
Yeah. So I have Queen at 17, Kalkbrenner at 18, Jace Richardson at 19, Murray Boyles at 20, Penda at 21, and then we both have Liam McNeely at 22. I had Liam McNeely way too high.
Yeah, that was crazy.
And then I realized I was like, he's not an athlete. He can't really defend. He's gonna be a good probably a higher end like Hauser or something like that.
He can't defend like Sam Hauser can. No way.
But he can attack the rim he can attack the rim and put the ball on the floor. But he's not good on defense at all. So I don't know.
Okay, here, listen to this, dude. Okay, Noah Penda. Noah Penda is like a net spin beat. That guy's just like around all the time, bro. He's just like sprinting around the court, swatting passes. Dude, he plays like reckless sometimes, but it works. Like there's like, if you go to like his tankathon thing, and like the second video down, Noah Penda has like 4 consecutive clips of him making like mid-air like jumping where he's like next to the rim and just like launches it out to the 3-point line. And he's like, dude, this guy's a freak.
Yeah. He's pretty, I think sporadic would be a fair assumption to say for Mr. Penda.
He could cause some chaos, dude. Like not to say that he's like a Caruso level defender or anything, but like the way that like Caruso just kind of like blows shit up, like that's that's what Noah Penda could do.
I mean, here's the thing with these French wings, and I feel like I talk about them pretty negatively because they always get so much hype and they're supposed to be high end scoring, 20 point per game wings, which that just is never going to be the case ever, except for maybe Noah. But the one thing they do have, Noah, not Noah Penda. The one thing that they do have in common is they have like long ass arms, freakishly long arms, and like traditionally really good defensive instincts. So that's why you should draft these guys, not with the hope of getting a 20 point per game scorer who a 6'9" wing who can shoot threes and play like a point. Like you're never going to get, most likely not going to get that. Yeah. But at the very minimum, you're getting a power forward, small forward who can defend all 5 positions and can move well laterally. So that's Noah Penda.
How do they raise these kids in France? Like, what are they doing?
I don't want to know.
It's like weird shit.
They probably all come from the same family. Just this like spread them out at birth.
They're in like there's like a hostel for French youth basketball players. They all stay in like a Jedi Academy.
Exactly.
Yeah. Who runs that, dude?
Wemby.
Oh shit.
Nick Batum?
Yeah. Investigate Nick Batum's finances, dude. What's he building over there?
Agreed. Outside of these guys though, everything else, you're a little higher on Jace Richardson than I am. I don't know, just again, it's kind of an offensive limitations thing, but I think he'll be a really solid, like high end backup, mid low end starter on an NBA team. He's going to be a fine player. What else do we have here? Thomas Sorber is another guy that I really want to have higher than I do. I have him at 16. You have him at 17. So that's basically us agreeing, which is kind of crazy. We both agree. Like you have Murray Boyles at 18. I have him at 20. That's a guy I see on Twitter. People like I see people putting him at 3.
No, yeah,
on Twitter.
Dude, like 2 months
Like,
ago, he was like consensus top 4. I mean,
like
obviously
I
he's dropped down since, but I
I
was
don't
like, I'm not seeing it. Like, I don't know.
I think it's I don't know what it is about him, but that's a guy that like I think you know what you're getting with Colin Murray Boyles, and it's probably not going to be anything else. But he is going to be really good at what he's known for. Like obviously the defense, he's fucking huge, and the rebounding as well. So you know what you're getting. I think is a fair assumption to make, but I don't like him enough to say he should be the 4th pick in the NBA draft. That's absurd.
Yeah, I think he's kind of a lock to be a good defender, I think. But like,
Yeah.
what the hell is he on offense? Like genuinely. I think
Yeah.
out of everyone in the top 20 that I have no idea what Colin Murray Boyles will be on offense. The rest of them I
Yeah.
can see some sort of role. Like my comp for Murray Boyles is like Sohan, but like no one knows what the hell Sohan is on offense.
Yeah.
So what is Murray Boyles? Like I don't know.
And listen, like there's a small ball center, and then there's Murray Boyles, who is 6'6".
Yeah.
Like I mean,
you have to be Draymond level good if you want to be that.
yeah,
Like,
he's
that's
6'6",
a lot to ask.
6'6", 240. Like he needs to keep bulking up and like put stilts in his shoes, and maybe he could be a small ball center.
Yeah.
I don't think that's gonna happen. So I mean, he's a good player, and I think like if we're talking about drafting for roles and like high impact players that are good, but you know the draft philosophy we talked about earlier, then
Yeah.
you know maybe we don't know what we're talking about, but I feel like that's what he is, I guess. Everyone else in the range we were just talking about, I have Kalkbrenner at 18. I do think like I don't know how good he's going to be on offense in the NBA. I don't like he averaged so much a game, but a lot of that was relied on being taller than people. He doesn't really have the best post moves, but like just an insane rim protector. It's absurd. Like I don't know. I watched him play for so long, so that's probably why I enjoy and appreciate it so much. But insane rim protector. He's also not a very good rebounder. Like he's just big, so he gets them. So that's something to be concerned. But he's not going to be asked to do a whole bunch on a nightly basis. He's going to be a backup center or low end starter. So
yeah, my comp for him was like a low usage Porzingis, where it's like Kalkbrenner is probably like off the top of my head, like the only center in this class who can both roll and pop effectively off of a screen. And he can also protect the rim. So given the fact that he can shoot as a versatile screener and can protect the rim, that's pretty much all you need out of a productive center for the most part. Yeah,
well,
he can't switch the greatest, but he's also massive. So
yeah,
I
mean,
yeah,
he doesn't cover as much ground as Malawach does,
no,
at all, but he still has a 7'6" wingspan, and he's
Yeah.
taller than Malawach, and Malawach's wingspan is like 3/4 of an inch larger. So, he still covers plenty of ground. I think Porzingis is an interesting comp because he kind of has like the quote unquote unicorn tag with his mobility. That's not Kalkbrenner is slow as shit. I'm gonna move on. Let's finish. I mean, you have Ace at 20 and Kasparis at 21. We kind of talked about that. I understand why you have him that low. I hope you understand why I have him that high, but I would be.
Yeah.
I like having Kasparis where I do. Honestly, at 10, I like that. I would be comfortable moving Ace down a little bit. I think you have arguably the most interesting player. If we're talking about our top 30s, and I actually don't know who your bottom 5 is, so you'll have to share that in a second with me.
Yeah.
But I think from what I can tell, I think you have the most interesting player in the top 30 out of both of us, and I actually ranked him high because you told me about him, and it's Amari Williams from Kentucky. He's not going to go that high, obviously.
No, he won't.
I think we both know that. But
yeah.
I truly do see the vision. I'll let you. He seems like he's kind of one of your guys, so I'll let you defend that pick a little bit. I know we're gonna maybe get into some of that stuff, in later episodes. So yeah. I'll let you give a quick synopsis of him.
I mean, I know it's a little bit bad timing with Hartenstein kind of getting played off the court in the Minnesota series. But that's also against Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert plays a lot of guys off the court, sometimes himself. But Amari Williams is like, he reminds me a lot of Hartenstein. I mean, he's a good screener. You trust Amari Williams to catch the ball on a short roll and then make the next play, which I think is just so valuable in a big. There's so many bigs who struggle to perform in offenses until they kind of hit that next level. I mean, like Jared Allen, for example, didn't hit the level of like an all-star player until he figured out how to operate out of a short roll. And Amari Williams can already do that day one. I think that's pretty impressive. He had some real playmaking chops, both after the screens and then also in DHO game, which is obviously valuable if you've got quick guards around you, which every team has quick guards, so I'm sure that'll come into play. He's a hustle rebounder, can really protect the rim. I mean, I think this is kind of what you're looking for in terms of a modern five in a double big game. Like, here's Hartenstein, here's Super Steven Adams. Yeah, I don't think he's an all-star by any means. Like, won't ever be that level of guy, but like, I think he's a pretty surefire, productive center in the NBA. And like I said, entering double big era, bigs are going to start to be pretty valuable.
Yeah. I agree. I had watched one of my roommates is a Kentucky fan, so I actually watched a good amount of Kentucky basketball. I think he was pretty safely the best player of that team, if not second behind Otega Owe. But yeah, the passing definitely stands out. That's impressive stuff. And Hartenstein, I know they're both like ugly jump hook lefty centers, so it's kind of easy to connect the dots there. But the passing is impressive. I've wrote so many stories for Thunder on SI about how Isaiah Hartenstein is just kind of like this big giant hub of offense for them, and in the regular season, a lot of their offense operated out of him. So,
do you think he has a phobia of backboards? Because sometimes he just like doesn't even look at the rim, like Hartenstein.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, it's just because he can't shoot unless it's
the
a dunker is floater. So
yeah,
why would he look at the rim? That's stupid.
True.
We've hit the hour mark, so I'm gonna read the rest of my top 30, and then I'll have you read the rest of your top 30, Killian, and we can end it there. So starting at number 23, I had Danny Wolf from Michigan. 24 is Sion. Is it Zion or Sion? It's Sion, right?
I think it's Sion. Yeah.
Okay. Sion James.
I would assume so.
I don't know. You never know. Sion James from Duke. 25, I have Chaz Lanier from Tennessee. 26 is Kobe Brea from Kentucky. 27 is Neat Clifford. 28 is Asa Newell. 29, Will Riley. And 30 is Joan Behringer. Killian, give me the rest of your list.
I've got Tyrese Proctor at 24, Sion James at 25, so back-to-back Duke guys. Hansen Yang from China. Dude has some like crazy, ridiculous passing analytics. And like I know it's just China, but like he legit has like Jokic level flashes sometimes. We'll see how that pans out in the NBA.
That's a bold statement.
Yeah. So if he's the next
Make
Jokic,
sure to clip that one.
Yeah, I was on that. 27 Fears, 28 Thero, 29 Will Riley, and 30 Janai Broom.
We have Will Riley at the same place.
We do 29.
Yeah, I saw a hilarious Will Riley comp. Someone said he's Amani Bates, and he's gonna be better than Amani Bates because he was productive at Illinois, and Amani Bates averaged 20 points on 30 shots a game at Eastern Michigan. So he's gonna be better than that. But it was kind of funny.
There's still like a whole crowd of people that will like never let Imani Bates die. Wait, were we talking about that? Was that
we did?
Yeah.
We did.
Yep.
We miss you, Imani Bates.
No, we don't.
We miss you. Yeah, we do.
No.
Well, Killian, unless you have anything else to add here this afternoon, I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap this one up.
Yeah, I think that'll do it. I mean, ran through the big boards. We'll go more in depth on some certain players next time, but I think that's a good way to start out.
Absolutely. We're going to try to get one of these out once a week for you leading up until the NBA draft. And then obviously everything that comes after the NBA draft will be a complete mystery. I don't think we know what we're doing next week, but thanks guys for tuning in. This is going to be a lot of fun. Anything else to add, Killian?
No, that's it.
Awesome. We'll see you guys next week.